And now I'd like to introduce our guest speaker, Victor Last. I had the honor of getting to know Victor when I was working at the Bruce County Museum. He's an amazing gentleman, was a teacher here at the Wiarton High School. And when he was teaching, he used first 35mm slides and then digital imagery within his classes to bring history and geography to life for his students. And that's just such a wonderful way to do it. So he has an amazing collection of photographs, and today he's going to take us through a traveler's guide to Wiarton, and I'm going to turn on the projector. So it's ready for us. So I'd like to introduce Victor Last and have him come up, and with no further ado, we'll have the presentation.
Thank you very much, Anne-Marie. Here we go. So, in a nutshell, Wiarton in the late 1800s, towards the end, 1880, 1890, holy mackerel, like, the future was in front of them. All this virgin timber, whole peninsula full, fish, whitefish, all sturgeon, you name it. Millions of dollars were being generated in the Bruce Peninsula. In fact, as Andrea Curtis, in her book, she talks about Wiarton as being the city of the North. In fact, when Wiarton gets its train, it took about another 20 years before there was a train in Northern Ontario. But we had a train, and we had millions of dollars. Lots of jobs being generated by the fishing industry, the lumbering industry, and, of course, all the associated jobs, furniture industries, the sawmill industry, lumber industries, but I mean, there was all sorts of stuff going on. However, towards the end of the 1890s, people start to realize, hey, resources are dwindling. Resources are dwindling. What are we going to do? So they start to invest. Two investments. The Wiarton Beach Sugar Factory, a factory in today's dollars, about $14 million worth, in Wiarton, no less. Went belly up within 2 years. And the Colonial Beach Sugar cement factory, again, it didn't last all that long before it was finished, but for completely different reasons. So the whole problem was, we get this really boom and bust cycle, and that's, of course, very typical of Northern Ontario when you depend on mining and stuff like that. So I want you to make believe now. You're in, let's say, around 1890, and we're going to go through the peninsula from a touristic perspective. So we're coming in through Wiarton Harbour, as you can see here. Okay, so we're arriving from Wiarton, as you can see. We passed the fish hatchery, the second oldest fish hatchery that was built by the federal government in all of Canada. And unfortunately, in the 1990s, it just happened to be in the way for the new water treatment plant. And they just had to knock it down. But anyway, it's gone now. We can't do much about it. So there's the fish hatchery in the background. We're coming up now to the dock and the Fisherman's Wharf, the Dominion Fish Company, as you can see. A bit of wood on the right-hand side, but all the boxes that you can see there. This photograph I got from a woman that was at the presentation last year. It's one that she donated since then, so this is a new one. A really good photograph showing you a bit of a log boom there, but also all the fish boxes on the deck there. But look at that. I mean, even there, you don't see the boldness and of the escarpment today. It's all covered up with lots and lots of trees. By the way, unknown to us on the boat, okay, we are being observed. So somebody on the escarpment has already noticed that a tour boat has arrived. This one from Collingwood. Oops. Okay, well anyway, this is a close-up of that boat. Look at the tourists, what they're wearing, their dress. When I saw this photograph, I was really excited with this. I mean, this is a dock in Wiarton. I like the boys in breeches, but the question was like, hang on now, are these people on the dock meeting people on the ship, what's going on exactly. If you look very carefully, you can see a few bodies. I don't know if they're going in or going out. Obviously, people are getting off, and some people are getting on. So this started the whole idea. So what would they be doing in Wiarton? This is mass tourism. Huh? Judging by what they're wearing, however, they're not going to be in a coach going up to Tobermory, getting out of the bus with their sandwiches in hand, going to use public facilities, and then go back in the bus again. These people, some of them are tourists, probably most are, maybe 1 or 2 travelers, and they'll be staying for the long term. So they will be adding support to the local economy. And these people definitely were. Where are you going to go? Well, you've got the old Anchor Inn. Gee, well, this is jumping by itself here. Because the Anchor Inn, you could probably rent a carriage, as you can see here, on Burford Street, the main street. Choices of hotels, and I should point out, fine eateries. There's been quite a few, some of the early editions of the Wiarton Echo. People are talking about the quality of the food that they could get locally in Wiarton. And of course, in town, our appearance has not gone unnoticed, as you can see here, especially in the next photograph. And then with the telephone, everybody in the whole peninsula knows probably that a boat from da-da-da has arrived, and etc. This photograph I like. From just an overall perspective, it's a busy street. That's Burford Street looking north. I think we probably, when you see the photograph for the first time, you're drawn to the center. It seems to be like a V, the apex. And you see the man with his horses going down the dusty road. Some of you may notice a little boy bottom right with the breeches. And you can see, right where it says Wiarton printed on there, you can see a wooden sidewalk going right across this very dirty, muddy gravel road. However, from a geographer's perspective, my eye was attracted by what's at the back of the photograph. You see the 2 slabs? The 2 white horizontal slabs? Because I knew there was a North Park in Wiarton. And when I talked to elderly people in town, they said it was on top of the hill. Some people confused it with the Wilfred Campbell Monument that used to be up there when Highway 6 was blasted through. Here, I said, well, you know, so now I use a technique that I've used 2 or 3 times in this presentation, as you'll see, or will. See now? Do you see what I see now? Look what's there. Just by blowing that picture up, you can see. You can see the steps. There's no Wilfred Campbell up there. There's no Highway 6. And you can see the steps going up and that white slab. That was the initial park. I think it was called Bayview Park initially. But in any event, I had proof now, based on the next photograph from my own collection. This old geezer walking up these steps. The angle of the steps, exactly the same as the angle in the first picture that we saw. Now we know one thing. This guy has nothing in his hands. Obviously he's not going for a picnic or having déjeuner sur l'herbe, as in this photograph. However, at night time, something else went on. And some of you may have heard the song from one of the Owen Sound singers. Anyway, based on a true story, Aggie Thomas. That's not Aggie Thomas, by the way. I just stole this picture off the web. She had a little establishment, a tent, on the outskirts of town, and she was much frequented by the lumbermen at the bottom of the hill until there was a murder. She murdered somebody. Well, she killed somebody, and basically it was self-defense. She was mobbed by men, basically, throwing eggs and sticks and goodness knows what else. But that's an interesting aspect of history. Now, I don't know if we're in the forest on top of the hill, but anyway, here's to Aggie, and that's Aggie in the photograph. Maybe. However, there's no doubt the view from that North Hill in Wiarton is absolutely spectacular. And you can see, by the way, you notice something really funny about that picture? Look at Burford Street, the main street. Does it seem normal? You see, what's missing? There's no people. There's a town of Wiarton, 5 people on top of the hill, is that it? Obviously, it must be Sunday. Probably everybody's in church. I'm just guessing, I don't know. But there we go. Notice a train on the left-hand side. And that little funny looking building on the right was the station, that little white building to the right. And then you've got a granary. I don't know. Well, you're going to see it later on. But I don't want to get this thing to act up again. But anyway, a really nice view. However, a nice view when you look down Burford Street. So what we're going to do now is take a little walk on that park. One, again, a postcard on the left. And the second one, a oil paint, at least a watercolor, given to me by W.G. Cheshire, way, way back when. And you can see that trail goes to the escarpment. Okay? You can see not much to see, not a great view from up there. You know, you've got ships being built and moored, piles of wood stacked over here. And then I remembered a little survey I had my students do. And that, they interviewed, I think it was kids in grade 6 and grade 8. And I had my students map those who had bicycles, where they were allowed to go in Wiarton. Very few girls had bicycles. All boys had bicycles. Girls could only ride their bicycles up and down the street. No other place. Boys, they were footloose. And when I asked the girls, why can't you go further? And they said, oh, well, down over there, it's a very dirty place. And I thought that was the hidden keyword for, like, you know, predators, you know, looming in the park, ready to get young girls. But in actual fact, I think they really meant it was a really dirty place. I mean, could you see playing down here? Look at it. Look at the mess. What a heck of a mess that is. Doesn't this look so much nicer? The Germans always do a good job. I know my mum was Swiss and she loved house cleaning. You know, everything had to be spotless. And this is like, it's really a beautiful city, like a really town. It's not bad compared to the other side, you know, that we saw with all the crunch. I don't think any color picture will do it justice. I'm going to go back to this house on the right-hand side. Not a working man's home, somebody who had money. You see, it's absent a lot of stuff, but I'll talk about that much later. So we're going back to the main street. By this time, the people have now settled in. They're going to go shopping. We've got the pharmacy, top left-hand side. We've got bottom right, Kyle Hardware at the corner, the person who built the home which I presently live in. And maybe we're going to stop in and get some treats, some sweet treats from Robinson's Bakery. Or maybe I'm going to get some shaving cream or something else. So we get brave enough and ask a few locals, how do we get to the corner? How do we get to the McNeil estate? So these are pretty brave souls. So we're on the way. We're going to take the water route. You've seen the route from above. That path went to McNeil's. So our plan is to walk along the water, go up the stairwell, and then come back on the brow of the escarpment. Now, these are the two photographs. It's Bill Cheshire. That's who it was. He's the one who gave me the bottom right-hand photograph, which is a real gem. The first photograph I've actually seen behind the Fisherman's Wharf. This is a lime kiln, and what a mess it was. And the top left-hand side is the rear view of Fisherman's Wharf. Now we're going to head back by the trail. We're on top of the escarpment now, and we're heading back to where we started from. Oh, well, we happened to meet Wilfred Campbell, who was a friend both of Malcolm, the son, and also the father. In fact, the father got him a job in Ottawa as a civil servant. A lot of young ladies seem to like the escarpment for one reason or another. Nice place to meet friends. And even naughty girls smoking it up. Sort of interesting. Two girls on the left-hand side. You can see they've never smoked a cigarette in their life. And the way they got the cigarette stuck in there, like... it is sort of funny. I like that. And of course, everything looks so nice and clean when you're up above, when you've got a German postcard with a color like that. Even that looks half decent. By the way, that red building was the granary or grain silo, whatever you want to call it. And it's right next to the railway station. You can see the railway wagons on the right-hand side there. We're descending now, going back to the hotel, get some food, good food. And now time goes by. We've got to speed up here now. Okay, so we're going to go for a walk. This is left to right. The people crossing from left to right, that's Burford Street. The corner is the old Kastner sawmill, sawmill, sorry, furniture factory. Past the carriage makers, we go up to the old town hall before the fire. And lo and behold, on top of the hill, Campbell's house. So the whole point is, here's a guy, there is nothing outside his house. Keep in mind, this Campbell, okay, he wrote good poetry and bad poetry, but the bad poetry got him a lot of publicity. He was invited by the royals 3 times to go to England. He was, as you can see there, King George V royal household. From their viewing box, he saw the coronation. I mean, how many people from Wiarton have actually been to Buckingham Palace inside? I mean, heck, that's something to talk about. So, I mean, this guy, Richard Kipling, you know, good friends here, Lord Strathcona. So, 3 times, accepting invitation to stay at the homes of earls and dukes and duchesses, and the influential churchman, the Bishop of Ripon. I mean, we never hear about the guy. And yet, he lives across from my house. I see his house every day when I get up. So, we continue our walk. We pass the Wilfred Campbell house. And just to give you some ideas of workingmen's cottages in Wiarton. This one I can thank the archives in Southampton for. Cows on Brown Street, pretty interesting. And as a result of my presentation last year, I've now added another photograph. It's only 1 frame, but 2 pictures. And this woman said, well, you might like to look at my home. And her home, by the way, is right on the right-hand side. You see the one with the circle? The front of the house is 2 big round circles. A circle window, it's quite unique. She takes me in. She said when her husband, when the husband was alive, they were decorating the house. In one of the walls, they found a German coin, 1893, I think it was, 1892, the age of the house. Okay. Then a scabbard. No sword. I automatically thought, oh, a German scabbard. Gave it to my brother, who's an archaeologist. He said, oh, no, that's not German, that's British. It was only in use in Canada for 5 years, 6 years, and then they got a bigger, longer killing model, and that scabbard was no longer used. But the gem, she takes me down to the basement. There, in the basement, that's what I saw. This bloody big safe in the basement. It weighs a ton. How they ever got, I mean, obviously they built the house around this safe. But the safe was locked. No one knew the combination. She eventually gets a license, safe opener, or whatever. So he drilled a hole in the side, left-hand side, and he put in one of those little laser lights or whatever it was. I don't know what they use to see inside your tummy or whatever it is, you know. He could figure out the combination from that. And then they opened the safe. He didn't use any dynamite though to open the safe. And then, lo and behold, what did they find in there? 2 issues of the Wiarton Echo. No jewels, no gems, no rubies. We're still walking, by the way, in our little tour of the street scene. Pretty big sturgeon, as you can see here. And of course, all of the logs. This is now Blue Water Park. You can see this here. Look at the flotsam and the junk, not clean. Okay, so we're still coming in now. We're going to go through the sawmill pretty quickly here. The caster factory, the furniture factory. A view of the Hill Chair factory in the background. This photograph, look at the little boys in the front. How old are those little boys? Maybe grade 7, grade 6 maybe? I mean, there was a fair amount of, I'm going to use this photograph towards the end. But this time it was getting hot and pretty stinky, so we decided we've had enough of this little tour. We go back to the hotel. Very busy. Oh, there always seem to be things going on, parades and, festivals of one sort or another, as you can see here. And the McLaren's band are everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere, these characters. Wiarton, there's so much going on in Wiarton. Play after play, musical groups, and think of all the churches. Now, unfortunately, for the church in the bottom right-hand corner, you notice what the postcard says. It says German church, and well, without stressing the point, for some reason or other, it ended up on fire. And now they have a new Lutheran church. But through the churches, they all had their social programs. There were all sorts of activities arranged by the churches. And so it was a good way to get to meet people, elderly citizens, like a relation here to somebody in the room right now, I see.
My great-great-grandmother.
Great-great-grandmother. Young ladies, families with children. By the way, ill-fated, unfortunately, 3 years from now, her husband will be dead on the Jones. And again, a few children here. We even got invited out for tea, maybe a supper, and heaven forbid, a wedding. I mean, have you ever seen a happier couple? I mean, there's so much happiness in this. I know they must be Germanic, traditional Germanic from way back when, not today's Germanic. But look at this, the driving park. And I got this photograph just the other day. The one on the right, this tall Scots from, who was this? The motel, Mrs. Miller. Just north of Wiarton had the motel.
Where the school is now.
Pardon?
The one on the left is where the school is now.
Oh, is that, thank you. But I saw the tower to the right of the Scots. It's the same one, so that's taken probably the same time. But I mean, all dressed out, I mean, incredible. A beautiful photograph. And we're going to take a detailed shot right here. Notice the McLaren band. Everywhere you go, there's McLaren. There, you know, that band is everywhere. That's the same photograph. Look at the difference. The guy at the front, top left, leaning against the pole. The little girl nonchalantly with her hand behind her back walking down the sidewalk. The little girl speaking with her father who was sitting on a chair. The 3 kids looking at me taking the photograph. And of course, did you notice the dog? Is he dead? Or is he just asleep? Oh. Orangeman Parade. Burford Street. An interesting picture. In this particular case, 1901, where the heck is Pretoria? We had no, like today, most kids will be clueless where Pretoria is, but everybody is out for this parade, in Wiarton no less, not Toronto or Halifax. This is downtown Wiarton. Population maybe 2,500 people. Everybody's out celebrating the victory of the British in the Boer War, 1901. But then we had a newspaper called The Echo.
My grandfather was there
Really?
in the Boer War.
Wow.
There in 1901.
Yeah. I mean, it was absolutely incredible that we actually had a newspaper that actually had news. But that was typical, not just simply of Wiarton, but any small town newspaper. We decided to actually go to the big sugar factory. And we're going to go to the opening. This is Frank Street on the way to Oxenden. So Wiarton, Gould Street is right at the very top of the photo going from left, not Gould, but Burford left to right. And we're heading out towards the McKays, if you will, in Oxenden. Look at all the people dressed up in jackets, horses, people with carriages. The grand opening actually had indicated that the company would give a free railway ticket for you to visit the grand opening from anywhere in Canada, anywhere, providing it was hooked up to the regular rail service. One-way ticket to get to the opening of this place. This was the equivalent to a $14 million operation. The factory, $14 million. These are just vignettes from that photograph that you just saw previously. Men on no saddles. The one on the right, just a little blanket or whatever you call it technically. The girls and women down below with their hats. Everybody dressed to the nines. Back again in Wiarton. We passed the Wiarton Beach Sugar Factory the year that it was in operation, or the 2 falls that it was in operation. We passed the cement factory, with the longest conveyor belt in the world at the time. We arrive at Oxenden. The bear cubs, a very important tourist attraction it seems at the time. Sawmills, the waterfalls, and of course, the shanty and Robert the Bruce, who was probably, I think he was a remittance man. He did get a little bit of money from England. Nobody really knew much about him. I do know when he was really cold, he would sleep at the jail in Wiarton. They would put him in the cell to keep him warm. He was a major stopping point. He was a tourist attraction, he himself. In fact, when he died, in his trunk, he had a black tuxedo. There were all these questions, but nobody knew anything about him, which is sort of interesting, actually. Of course.
We take the car. A lot of people are taking the car. We even have the silent policeman there telling people you should keep to the right-hand side while driving. Many of us do leave by car. I, on the other hand, decide would have a friend pick me up and drop me off at the railway station. And lo and behold, to my surprise, I was welcomed by the McDonald band, or the McLaren band rather, saying their goodbyes, and au revoir and bon voyage. Get on the train. Thank you.
So this is our shack. Get over there. It's our shack on the main street.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. It looks very rustic.
I think I have that one.
I think so.
No, there aren't. And you have to be practically on top of it before there's a sign for the Salvation Army, which is across the
How many do we have?
It has to go in. It has to sit in there. No.
So,
Will it go?
if this
Little guy.
the little guy.
Hands in it.
Here we go. We got her.
There.
Where's that little guy?
The other one. The other little.
Now we still have to take the two bottom ones out. Platform about what people support, not
My part.
Yeah, they're trying. One bunch made theirs and then it all fell down.
Here. So I've been at SDSS for 2 months now, and for anyone who might be curious about how it's going a lot better than I thought, but because there's so many grade 7 and 8s now, we will be doing Heritage Fair again.
Depends if I drink too much whiskey.
As I end my term as your president, I would like to take this opportunity to reflect on what great years we as an organization have had. First, I wish to thank all of the members of our society and especially the Board of Governors and Executive for their support and hard work over the past 4 years. When I took on this role as president, little did I know it would be so exciting and satisfying, perhaps a little frightening too at times. Throughout my time as president, one of the key areas we accomplished as a society was the creation, promotion, and completion of our documentary of the County of Bruce. The finished product of DVDs and Blu-rays and The publication of the companion book written by The Bruce, written by Robin Hilborn, has been very rewarding. All this could not have been done without the teamwork of the committee, spearheaded by Ross Lamont, along with the overwhelming support of the Board of Governors, or Board of Directors and the community. We worked very close with our partner, the Living History Multimedia Association, who was exceptional in producing an outstanding product that has promoted our county to a wide audience. Zach and Yvonne became more than our partners in this endeavor. They became our dear friends. My one disappointment is that we were not able to carry on the work of the barn project initiated by our past president, the late Audrey Underwood. Getting people interested in taking on the duties needed to work on this project for each township was a difficult one. Audrey worked many hours on this, but to no avail. And then I say, it's a great pleasure to hand over the gavel to our incoming president, Dorn Fitzsimmons. As I said, he had to leave early. He has been a member of the executive for many years, most recently our treasurer, and has a wealth of knowledge to continue in his role. I would know everyone will continue to support him in the future of the Bruce County Historical Society. I look forward to assisting Dorn in any way I can to continue our work as we maintain the guiding principles and goals and objectives of our society as stated in our Constitution. Thank you.